Hello everyone and welcome to the final round of the Chennai Grandmasters tournament. It is Pentala Harikrishna versus Gukesh, and Gukesh needs only a draw to qualify for the candidates tournament, or to almost qualify for the candidates tournament. If he gets a draw or wins this game with the black pieces, he will overtake Anish Giri in the FIDE circuit and have excellent chances of qualifying for the FIDE candidates tournament. Those chances being that we still have the World Rapid and Blitz Championship that will be from 26th to 30th of December, and it is possible that someone has a brilliant event, wins the event, and overtakes Gukesh in that tournament. But that is still to be seen. It's a really erratic tournament, and anyone can beat anyone, so it's very difficult to actually count on that. So let's see what happened in this one. Pentala with the white pieces opens with pawn to d4. We have pawn to d5, and now pawn to c4. D captures on c4. Gukesh accepts the queen's gambit. Not something you would expect from a game where you only need a draw, but he obviously has something prepared. Knight f3, knight to f6, and now pawn to e3. Just going after the pawn, also called the old way or the old variation. We have pawn to e6, and bishop captures on c4. We have pawn to a6, now preparing b5 and c5, castles, and pawn to c5. We have d captures on c5, and bishop captures. We have an early queen trade, captures, captures, and now bishop to e2. So all been played before, nothing new here. King to e7, and now knight b to d2. We have bishop to d7. The bishop can now come to c6 or to b5 if needed, and rook to d1. We have rook to c8, and now pawn to b3, preparing to fianchetto the dark square bishop to this diagonal. So, okay, bishop to b5, offering a trade of bishops, and Harikrishna goes knight to c4. He refuses to trade. He says, if you want to trade, then you have to give a bishop for knight, which will leave me with the bishop pair. And here we have knight b to d7, getting us to a point where we reach new territory. There is a game between Daniil Dubov and Timofey Artyom that reached this position where knight to c6 was played, but here we have knight b to d7, and it is now, as of move 13, that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Harikrishna goes about this. He plays bishop to b2. Of course, you want to get your bishop to this diagonal. Knight to b6, now preparing some trades here, and knight f to e5. Again, saying if you want to trade, you're going to have to trade bishop for knight. Knight captures on c4, knight captures, and Gukesh goes for it. He plays bishop captures on c4. And with play on both sides of the board, this could be a little bit risky, as the bishop pair is now incredibly powerful. But like I said, Gukesh only needs a draw to almost certainly qualify for the candidate tournament, and he is certain that he will be able to fight bishop, knight versus bishop. So g6, removing this as a permanent target. Now you can move the knight. Bishop back to e2. Now with the pawn 7 light squares here, the bishop will come to this diagonal to put more pressure on the queen side. Knight back to d7, and now rook a to c1. We have bishop to d6, offering a trade of rooks, and pawn to f4, so you don't have to worry about this pawn being a target. We have rook captures on c1, and rook captures on c1, pawn to a5. Grabbing more space here. Also, if you want to further advance your pawns, you don't want the pawn on a6 to be a target, and you also stop white's expansion on the queen side. So here, bishop to b5, now putting pressure on the knight here, knight to b6. We have pawn to g3, and rook to c8, offering further trades, which will leave us with a bishop pair versus bishop and knight. So pawn to e4, pawn to f6, and now king to f2, and Gukesh finally trades. Rook captures on c1, bishop captures, and bishop to c5 with check. King f3, and now knight to c8. And now the real question is, can Hari push this for a win somehow? The only one, of course, who can play for a win is white with the bishop pair, unless he really messes something up. The question is, how do you do it? If you trade pawns on the queen side, then it's a dead draw. Of course, you will not be able to do anything with your bishop pair if the play is on only one side of the board. That's sort of the big advantage of the bishop pair versus a knight, that the bishops can control the entire board right away. So here he starts with pawn to e5, and Gukesh locks the position in. Pawn to f5, bishop to e3. He offers a trade of bishops, as he doesn't find a way on how to continue, because it's very hard. All of the squares are covered, and there's no way for the king to actually infiltrate. So pawn to b6 by Gukesh, offering a trade on c5. And, well, everyone thought that Harikrishna will try to find some way into black's camp. There really isn't any. So he just trades here. Bishop captures on c5. B captures, and now he plays king to e3, hoping to get his king here to capture the pawn, but knight to b6. And he was in this position on move 31 that Harikrishna and Gukesh agreed to a draw, as there is nothing more to be done here. All of the squares are covered, the pawns are doing a wonderful job, and with the knight controlling a4 and c4, there's just no way for the white king to break through. The bishop has no business here. The pawns are on dark squares, and these pawns that are on light squares are nicely defended by the king. Like I said, if you try and if you get your king, let's say, to c3, and then you play a3 and b4, you trade all of the pawns on the queen side, then you're only left with the pawns on the king side. Then it's even easier for the knight. Then it might even be knight that has the advantage at some point. And if you just maybe try and go your your king this way, then black will just put a king here, and I mean, you still have nothing. So dead draw, nicely done by Gukesh. He said that he got his 2 wins in the tournament, and then he just slowed down. He just didn't want to mess up an event, because he said after the World Cup he really had a couple of events that he was not happy with. So now he got his 2 wins, and he was able to cling on to first place for the rest of the tournament. Now, it's still unclear, as one of the games is still happening that could overtake Gukesh as the sole leader. Doesn't matter. He will overtake Anish Giri in the FIDE circuit with a sole lead, or even with a shared lead in this tournament. So, if nothing wild happens in the World Rapid and Blitz Championship, Gukesh goes onto the Candidates tournament. So yeah. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and a little bit of extra info regarding the Candidates tournament. I would like to thank Kenneth Few, John Dugdale, Ivan Sterling, Nikola Vucic, and Maximo Eiseren for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on what's happening in the chess world, but we are looking for that next Alireza game, as if he wins this one, he overtakes Wesley as the highest rated player who could qualify for the Candidates tournament if FIDE decides to rate these games. So yeah, I once again hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you soon.